At the outset, I have to thank Dr. Ashok Vaid and the organizers of this virtual conference on oncology for having made me a part of this very important ceremony. And I'm sure when I go back from here half an hour later, I shall go back wiser than before. It gives me special sense of satisfaction and also pride to be a part of the release ceremony of a book which is edited by Dr. Ashok, because I have known him for years together, seen him grow. Incidentally, we were part of the same teaching faculty in the Government Medical College, Jammu. Since I was a few years senior to him, so I had the opportunity of seeing him going places and adding laurels to his profile one after the other. And I vividly recall when he went for his DM to Chennai. The first call I received from Chennai was one of my closest friends, Dr. Hemant Raj, who was speaking very highly of him. He was the head of the Ardea Cancer Institute at that time and still continues to be after retirement, though on an honorary basis. So he's one of those who we saw growing up as our junior, and he ended up teaching many lessons to all of us. And therefore, I think this is a privilege and a gifted blessing for him that he has successfully made a mark for himself in the specialty that he chose to pursue. In addition to that, ever since we've seen him working in different hospitals in Delhi, he has earned the reputation of being a patient-friendly and also an attendant-friendly oncologist. Because this is a specialty where the patient is sometimes not as much stressed as his attendants. And therefore, an oncologist is expected to attend to all of them and manage each one of them in a different way. Now, as far as the subject of this conference and the subject of this book is concerned, all of us know that over the years, the disease spectrum in India had undergone a change. There was a time, at least when I was an MBBS student, the famous saying was, if you read syphilis, you read medicine. Because that would include everything, going up to cardiovascular and tertiary stage neurosyphilis, etc., etc. But then with the advent of antibiotics and antimicrobials, that era was over. And I remember we used to have our internship posting in the tuberculosis sanatorium. And I did that in a sanatorium at Tambram near Chennai. But now all this, if you narrate all this to a young medico, it would appear to him like a tale from a different world. And by the time he had passed out after specialization, etc., the dictum was, if you read diabetes, you read medicine. Because that would involve all the systems, all the organs. And then, of course, with the increase in lifespan and so many other factors, all these diseases, diabetes mellitus and coronary artery or metabolic disorders, the cancers took over. You all being experts from the field may be able to explain that better. But sometimes I tend to believe that maybe now people have started living long enough to develop certain malignancies which would normally be happening only in the later decades of life. Earlier on, in fact, Dr. Ashok was referring to the multiple departments that I look after. So once I was addressing a gathering of pensioners, and it was a day-long congregation, and all of them were having some of the other grievances. So at the end of the day, when I was asked to respond, I said, you know, in spite of all these grievances, you are luckier than others. So they all looked back at amusement, and I said, at the time of independence, very few like you had the privilege and fortune to be given a farewell party, because mortality happened quite often before the age of retirement. So now they retire at a young age, full of energy, full of experience and prime, and then they have ample time to file in RTIs and cause all kind of energism, activism, or nuisance, whatever you call. So I think this is a part of a changed social spectrum that has happened. And of late, in the last few years, we have cancers of different organs and virtually across the country, across the Indian Peninsula. If you begin from Jammu and Kashmir, and as is often being cited in your research papers, you have a high incidence of gastrointestinal cancers and the lung cancers in the valley of Kashmir. And in the northeast, where I am placed currently, I notice that you have a very heavy or a high prevalence of cancers in the head and neck region. And when I went there for the first time in 2014, I was taken back to such an extent, though that was not part of my mandate, that I called up Dr. Hemant Raj. He entered into an arrangement wherein now we started sending for the last 3 or 4 years a physician and a surgeon each every 6 months for a short-term clinical training, with the motive and the plan that we should have, or we would try to have at least one doctor who could manage cancer better than a general physician or general surgeon in each of the district hospitals, and we have started moving in that direction. So that is the magnitude of this problem. I'm not going to go into detail about that, also because it's a ceremonial session, and also because in a webinar you don't know when the audience has gone off to sleep. So you happily go on talking to yourself and listening to yourself without realizing the response of the audience. But at least when you are actually placed before each other, you can see somebody yawning, somebody searching on his mobile, and you know now it's the time to shut up. But nevertheless, keeping in view the dignity and sagacity of this brief ceremony, as the representative of the Modi government, I think it's also my responsibility to point out some of the very visionary decisions taken at the personal intervention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And one of them, of course, is the Ayushman Bharat, which I never feel tired of saying that I think it's possibly the first of its kind health insurance scheme across the world, because you have a number of health insurance schemes, but those insurance covers are provided only if you register and prove that you are disease-free at the time of getting yourself registered for the insurance. I think this is the one of its own kind, where if you are detected having a disease, or you are detected having a problem which requires a surgery, for which an indication is surgery, you can thereafter next day get yourself registered under Ayushman, secure a card, and avail of the insurance cover. Otherwise, normally what was happening, and all of us were coming across such experiences, even after an individual had undergone a procedure, maybe a cardiac bypass or whatever, and he claimed his insurance enumeration for which he was normally entitled, the insurance representatives would try to find out various means to prove that he already had a coronary disease which was not disclosed, and therefore try to deny him. But this is one scheme where it is forthcoming in offering you cover even after you've been detected having the disease. And we are actually trying to extend the cover, and I'm glad that Jammu and Kashmir, from where Dr. Ashok Vaid hails, has become the first territory in the country which has provided universal health insurance cover through Ayushman to each of these citizens. And incidentally, what I forgot to mention is that Dr. Ashok also happens to be one of my voters, because I have the liberty of saying that he was born in my constituency in a place called Bilawar. I hope he has not shifted his vote over to Gurugram, because that will be my loss. If he's done so, I'll ask him to transfer it back. Nevertheless, coming back to what I was saying, ban on e-cigarettes was a very foresight initiative of the Modi government, and which is directly linked with those who are dealing with oncology. And most recently, as all of you would have heard from the reports of the Red Fort on the 15th of this month, when Prime Minister announced the National Digital Health Mission, wherein each citizen would be provided with a kind of a health card which would carry all his profile, which will bring in ease of healthcare and updated healthcare. And I think this corona pandemic that we went through actually brought in realization of many of the shortcomings, but at the same time, I have no hesitation to claim with a certain amount of pride that it also demonstrated to the world the inherent resilience and the inherent preparedness of India's healthcare system. As I said, we were mostly engaged in dealing with non-communicable diseases for the last 20-25 years. Suddenly we were taken aback by an infection of this magnitude. But overnight, the promptness with which particularly our young residents lived up to the occasion is also, I think, a major factor which has helped India fight out this malice comparatively better than many other countries of the world. And with these few words, I am sure this 3-day conference would be a good food for thought. So I'm not sure whether the food for stomach is going to be provided, because usually banquets are something which is looked forward to in the conferences. And since I've been for many years part of the governing council of the RSSDI, and I would always say that the diabetologist or the endocrinologist who presides over the session on diet is someone who should be watched in the evening banquet about how he follows it himself. And then I would conveniently also provide an answer to that, because the advice that he gives is for others to follow, not for himself. But I'm sure the organizers and Dr. Ashok Vaid would keep this in mind. Once the corona is over, the banquet would still be pending. And I also look forward to obtaining a copy of the book, because otherwise it should not be presumed that I have virtually read it, because I would look forward to read it. And when I travel, I carry 2 books with me. And with the kind indulgence of Dr. Ashok Vaid, because I thought this is going to be a virtual ceremony which he's done very, very efficiently, I have also obtained a virtual, or not a virtual, a card copy for photo op of the cover, which I would now do. I'll stand up virtually so that there could be a photograph which could go in the registered record of the conference organizers and Dr. Ashok Vaid's own profile. So I'll do that. Let's go. So congratulations once again, and I know the best of Ashok is yet to come, and I hope I would also live to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, so much. And all of us are very grateful to you for your precious time and your words of wisdom and your encouragement to all of us. And we look forward to more such events with you. And being a physician, I think the connect becomes very instant and instantaneous. And we would always cherish this evening with you. And hopefully, as the things ease out, and look forward to a meeting where you would personally come and address the gathering. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, from all of us here, Indian Oncology Foundation, the entire organizing committee and the scientific committee. Thank you very much, sir.